Hey everyone, and welcome back to my game journal. I am very sorry that I've been gone the past 3 months. I was really busy with my student teaching, but I am back in full force, and this game journal is going to encompass the time that I was gone from March, April, and May. Even though I was really busy during that time, I still got a lot of gaming done, so this will probably be a longer game journal than the previous ones. And as a short reminder, these are not reviews for the games that I played. These are just impressions or short reflections of what I played recently, since I can't do big videos on every game that I play. That would take way too long. So with that being said, let's get into the first game that I played all the way back in March. Octopath Traveler 2 is the sequel to one of my favorite Switch games of all time, and it is the first game that I played in March. It's a turn-based RPG, it follows 8 unique characters, and I think of it as sort of a spiritual successor to Life Alive, which just got a remake last year. Octopath 2, like its predecessor, is absolutely gorgeous. I love the HD 2D style, and along with it being gorgeous, the combat is satisfying. The break elements in it just feel really good. I haven't played Octopath 1 since, I want to say 2019, when I played it for a second time. And even though it's been a few years since I've used that mechanic, it felt like I was just right at home using it. Right when you start the game, you get to choose which of the 8 characters you want to start with, and I chose Agnia since I started with Primrose in the first game. And I wanted to originally follow my order that I went with the first game, which was Dancer, Apothecary, Thief, and Hunter, but they were a little too spread out, so I gave up on that pretty quickly, and I ended up just going with Particio the Merchant next, which I didn't do the Merchant until the second set of characters that I got in the first game. But I went for the Merchant anyways, and then I was going to go for Casti since she's an Apothecary, but I really wanted Throne for various reasons. So I went against everything that I did not want to do, and I traveled the continents to go for Throne. And then I went for Oswald since he was right next to her, and Cyrus was one of my favorite characters in the first game, so I just thought it would be convenient to get Oswald right away. And that is the order for the first set of characters that I got in this game, and it is an incredibly weird order, but hey, that's what I went with, and I love it. Going back with that order, I want to talk about the first chapter of each character that I did, or at least for the first set of characters that I did. And Agnia's first chapter was a sweet start to the game. It wasn't really anything high stakes, but it was a nice story. And then Particio's chapter 1 I ended up liking more than I thought I would. There was an element of cheesiness to it that I did not think I was going to like, but it worked. And then Thrones was my favorite chapter 1. I loved Therion's story in the first game, and Thrones is off to a very strong start. And then Oswald's was the last one I did for my first set, and his story was my biggest surprise, just because it gave me a warning at the start of it that I would be locked into it until the end of chapter 2, which no chapter did that in Octopath 1, so that caught me really off guard. And that's a trend that I'm getting a lot of in this game, the subverting of expectations. The chapters in this game are not formatted exactly the same as the first game, which caught me off guard, because they're changing a little bit more than I thought that they would, and that makes me really happy. But I don't want to spoil anything with the story or with the formats of the chapters that specifically surprised me, so I'm going to stop talking about that. I just wanted to briefly mention it. Back to Oswald, I was hesitant to do it because of how off guard it caught me, but I was really interested in his character, so I just went for it. And that was the start of my journey in Octopath 2. I've done the chapter 2s for everyone and a few cross paths as well. And I've just been loving this game. I've been chipping at it little by little over the past few months, and I just think it is an amazing game. One small complaint that I have is that I do wish the party banter was voiced because it is very good, but I do know that there is a ton of it and it's all dependent on who you have in your party, so it would be more than just a little bit of work to get that done. But even then, the cross-path stories do fill that void that the travel banter is missing, since those are voiced. And that's about it. I'm just having an absolute blast with the game, and if the momentum stays, then this could very well be one of my favorite games this year. Final Fantasy Crisis Core Remastered is the next game that I decided to play, and you can definitely tell that it is a remaster of a PSP game. Not in a bad way, it just has that PSP feel to it. There's like a stiffness to the animations that, although redone, that stiffness is still there. And the pacing of the gameplay format is also clearly from the PSP with its mission-based system, but that portable game feel that it does give off still works. Crisis Core is an action-adventure RPG with a mission-based system and slot-based randomness inputted, which makes it give off some weird and unique gameplay elements. And if all of this sounds like a mess, it It kind of is, but it's a beautiful mess though. I will say it is a beautiful mess. It was my first time playing the game since I never owned the original PSP, and I initially experienced this game on YouTube, and it's a fine game. I know Square Enix called it a remaster, but there are so many new and rebuilt assets that I would lean more towards calling it a remake. And I had a good time with it. It's not like a fantastic game, and I'm sure that anyone that is a fan of Crisis Core will love this, but it's fine. It's a fine game. I had fun with it. There's a huge difficulty spike near the end of the game, and I know it's meant to scale along with the experience gained from side quests, but I played most of the game doing minimal side quests and having a relatively easy time with the gameplay, and then all of a sudden I am hit like a truck, getting almost one shot by pretty like normal enemies, pretty common enemies I would almost get one shot by. It just had like a weird jump in difficulty, but this game in general is beautiful. It has a PSP feel to it. If you're looking for that classic feeling, you are gonna love this. Final Fantasy fans are gonna love this. And yeah, it's a weird game, but it's a beautiful game, and it's a pretty fun time, so I do recommend it. Wave 4 of the Mario Kart 8 Booster Course Pass is something that came out in March, and that is also something that I played right at launch since, as everyone knows, I am a huge Mario Kart fan. I was initially going to talk about my impressions of each track, but I do plan on making an in-depth video once every wave has released, so instead, I'm going to keep this one short and I'm just going to say one quick thing about each track. So let's go ahead and get started with the Fruit Cup. Amsterdam is a lot better track than I thought it would be. Riverside Park is finally bringing the Patuis back. DK Summit is still a banger, and Yoshi's Island is one of the best DLC tracks that have come out. And now we move on to the Boomerang Cup, which has Bangkok, and that is a track that certainly exists. DC Mario Circuit is a way better track than I had remembered. Waluigi Stadium is finally here to give some Double Dash love. And Singapore's format was awe-striking. It was awesome. That's it. That's all you need to know. And those were my impressions for Wave 4 of the Mario Kart 8 Booster Course Pass! I know that it was very short, but again, I do want to make a big video once every wave has come out, so just stay tuned for that one. Moving on, we are at Super Mario Odyssey, which is very similar to the last game journal I did. No, I did not play Super Mario Odyssey last time, but I did play a game for my friend's podcast, which was Catherine, and this time we are playing through Odyssey. Or well, I'm playing through Odyssey. We did a Secret Mario type thing where we nominated games for each other to play, and this is just the one that I ended up getting. And I have played Super Mario Odyssey before. I played it when it came out, and I played it like 2 years after it came out, but I got to play it a third time, and it is a great game. And my opinion is unfortunately a little different from most people. I know this is most people's favorite 3D Mario game. It is definitely the best controlling one. I love how this one controls, but the format of this one is a little harder for me to get into. I love the main moons that this game offers, but there's a ton of moons. They started to feel like Korok seeds from Breath of the Wild, and I didn't really like the Korok seeds. I don't really like the moon format of this game. I prefer the linear open format of Sunshine and Galaxy, and I know Odyssey is more trying to go towards that open sandbox of 64 and Sunshine, but it's a little bit more open than that. And I like that it's open, but I also love the linearity of the missions from Galaxy and from Sunshine, where it has that opening title card. And this game does have that. It does have that. I'm not saying it like it just has them completely gone, but there's not as many as I'd like. It feels like each kingdom has a few main moons to get, and then it lets you explore to get the rest of them, which is fine. That's what makes it unique, and it is very good, but I just like the other format more, and I can't even say that this one's bad. And if Mario decides to move to this format forever, I mean, that's fun. It works. It is still very good. I just do prefer the older format, so I do not like this game as much as a lot of people, but it's still fantastic. I'm trying to explain it in a way where it doesn't sound like I'm being overly negative, because I do love this game. I think it is fantastic. I love the boss fights. The boss fights are some of my favorite boss fights in all of Mario. The kingdoms are very well thought out, and the music is fantastic. It's just, there's so much going for it, and it makes me a little sad, honestly, that I don't like it as much as a lot of people do, because like I said, there's just so much going for it. The jump up superstar moment, the end game moment, the kingdoms, Cappy, it's just, There's just so much, and it's just although I know it's a great game and I do love it, I don't love it as much as like the Galaxy games. So yeah, hopefully the next one I do like more. I know that this is a great format, and I'm really happy for everyone that loves this game, and I hope that the next one could strike the same chords as this one did for a lot of people. And while Odyssey was the last game that I played in March, the first game that I played in April was Resident Evil 4 Remake. While I played Odyssey off stream, I decided to play Resident Evil 4 Remake on stream so I can share that experience with others, and the gameplay I'm showing is not from stream. So although you might be seeing the beginning of the section with a lot of weapons, that is not what it will look like when you actually play it. This is just my new game plus gameplay. I had a ton of fun with this game, oh my god. I didn't think that I would have as much fun as I did. The quality of life improved my enjoyment so much. I mentioned in the last game journal, or the game forecast actually, that the original was hard for me to go back to because of certain elements, and I know that that's an unpopular opinion, but it's really what I felt. The tone combines the serious nature of Resident Evil with the goofiness that was in the original, and it works wonderfully. They even kept the bingo scene, which I thought was something that was going to be taken out, and the gunplay feels super satisfying and suspenseful. Even though it gears more towards an action bit than survival, it still feels a good bit suspenseful. And even though it's a remake, there are tons of surprises to be had for new and old players. Every element meshes to create an experience that I would argue is on par and in some ways better than the original game. Capcom got Resident Evil 2 Remake and Resident Evil 8 as Game of the Year contenders for the Game Awards, and I think that they might have done it again. I think it's a must play, so anyone that's watching it, I'm going a little fast paced on this one. Play it whenever you get the chance, because I can barely talk about this one without giving away some like fun surprises. I think it's definitely worth the full price, and even more so if you can actually manage to get this on sale. So yep, must play. Play it as soon as you can and just enjoy it. It's fantastic. And now we rewind a little bit and go backwards from Resident Evil 4 to Resident Evil 3 Remake. Since I didn't play it after I beat Resident Evil 2 Remake, it's fun and gives me a lot of anxiety, thanks Nemesis, but I unfortunately got into it at a bad time. I decided to play it after I beat Resident Evil 4 Remake, which is already a bad decision because Resident Evil 3 is good, but Resident Evil 4 is so much better, so I wasn't really motivated to play it after 4. The student teaching was also really picking up at the time, so I didn't have much time to play it anyways. By this time student teaching finished, a certain little game came out that I will talk about later, and now I don't really want to go back to it yet. I had fun with my early impressions, but I'm just not really feeling it right now. So Resident Evil 3 is a game that I will probably go back into the future, but for now I'm unfortunately going to have to pass on it. But I did enjoy my first impressions, so if anyone is looking to get into that, play it before 4. Just try to play it when you have some free time. It's a short game, but even if you're really busy and don't have time to play it, then it might not keep your interest. Continuing with April is the last game that I played in the month, and that is Star Wars Jedi Survivor, and that was something I was not going to be passing on, and I am playing it at a very slow pace. This game is a beautiful mess. I was so excited for this game, and I got it at launch, and I did my first impressions of it on stream, and I had an amazing time with it, but I am going to have to play this in small bursts. The state that the game launched in is not very good, and that's saying it nicely. It launched with issues on every platform, and it still suffers today even with a few patches. And I'm playing Jedi Survivor on PS5, which is the best version of the game, but I'm still having some performance issues that I don't really want, so I'll be playing it in small bursts so I don't forget the controls. I'm playing it at a very slow pace because the majority of this game I want to play when the performance issues are fixed, and like I said, I don't want to forget the controls, so I am gonna be chipping at it just so I can keep that little bit of muscle memory. But based on the opening of the game, it's gonna be a special adventure. I'm a big Star Wars fan, so I really hope I don't get this spoiled on Twitter, and it just all looks incredible. It feels incredible, it looks incredible, and I can only imagine how good it's gonna look when there are no performance issues. And since I'm still only past the opening, I can't really say too much about my experience. I did enjoy what I played though, and I hope that those performance issues are ironed out soon, because I would love to just grind this game out and just power through. Not as fast as I can, because that's no way to enjoy a game, but just enjoy it. I just want the issues fixed so I can enjoy it to the fullest. And next we have the game that I decided to play on stream instead of Jedi Survivor, and that is Stray. This is a game that I did not have any high hopes for going into it, and it's just because it's always looked interesting, but it's never really grasped me. It's like a puzzle, adventure, platform, cat game. And I loved the atmosphere in this game, especially the world of the game. It was really intriguing. It just really grasped me once I started it. All the trailers that I saw for it, albeit not that many, didn't really tell me anything. I wasn't ever really interested in playing as the cat. I heard about the puzzles, and puzzles, while I love, just wasn't something I was thinking of at the moment. But the more that I got into it, the more I wanted to know about it. Especially the world. Like I said, the world and environment was probably some of the best aspects of the game. And some of the puzzles reminded me of escape room type puzzles, and that gives extra bonus points because I'm very particular about the puzzles that I like, and I really like the puzzles that were in this game. It's a very short game. I think my final runtime was a little bit under 4 hours. I think it was 3 hours and 50 minutes. So I won't say too much about the game itself, but it was a very fun time. And I recommend going into it as blindly as possible, because I think that's just how it's best to be enjoyed. It's not a deep narrative. There are a few twists. It's a little bit predictable. I did predict the big twist, but it's more because it's just such a short game that if you see too much of it, you might not be as surprised as like I was. And the less you know more about it, the more I think you're gonna like it. So yeah, it's a smooth game. It's a fun game, and I highly recommend it. I know there are rumors that it is going to Xbox pretty soon, so I hope it does. That's just going to give it more platforms, more people to play it. So yeah, definitely play it. And now we are in May, and we move on from Stray to a different game with cat girls. And that's Xenoblade 3. Future Redeemed came out at the very end of April, but I did not get a chance to play it until May, and I was so incredibly excited to get into this. As I've mentioned before, Xenoblade 3 was my game of the year last year, and this DLC concludes the saga that started with the first game. Now, I can't talk about the story too much since this is very recent and it is the last piece to the story, but I will talk about my impressions of it and the characters in it. And I'm not going to say anything that's not inside the trailer, so don't worry if you haven't gotten a chance to play it. Although if you haven't seen the trailer, I do recommend just skipping to the final game on this list, because I am going to talk about the trailer. Now, that was your spoiler warning, so in 3, 2, and 1. Shulk is back, Rex is back, and this A character is here that we obviously know who A is, but they're keeping it a secret, and Matthew is here, which we don't know that that's Matthew. Well, we know that that's Matthew in the trailer because they say the name, and oh my god, the characters in this game, I absolutely adore. I am so happy that they brought Shulk and Rex back. I'll show you a thing or three. And then they have they have Glimmer and Nickel, and obviously they're supposed to represent other characters from previous games, and there is some story explanation for it that you guys will see when you play it, so I will not talk about it, but that I just wanted to gush about the characters really quickly. Now, that's all I want to say about the characters. There's cat girls in this, and obviously Xenoblade does cat girls the best, for obvious reasons, and yeah. The gameplay in this is fantastic. I love the affinity scenes. The affinity scenes are great. They were missing in the base game, which I thought was a little weird, but they did get replaced with hero quests, and there aren't any hero quests in the DLC, so you win some, you lose some. But yeah, I love the affinity scenes. They were really great. The visuals were amazing. The environments were beautiful. The climax of the game was fantastic. The cutscenes were beautiful. The ending was very crazy for a lot of implications that I will not get into. And this game in general, this DLC is one of the best DLCs that I have ever played. I cannot get over it. I will be forever in love with this series. Xenoblade 3's ending is one of my favorite video game endings of all time, and it absolutely destroyed me. Future Redeemed did not destroy me because it wasn't very sad. It was just crazy. Future Redeemed is just so good. Shulk is back. Rex is back. This is what people have been waiting for. Although Xenoblade 3 tied things into 1 and 2, I know a lot of people were really hoping that it would do more. I wasn't one of those people. I actually was kind of hoping that it would be its own thing, which it did succeed in that. Future Redeemed is not its own thing. While I can recommend Xenoblade 3 to be played before 1 and 2 if you really don't want to play it, I do not recommend doing Future Redeemed if you have not played 1 and 2. There's a lot that you will not understand, I feel. But yeah, that's the DLC. It's fantastic, and I'm so happy that we finally got a conclusion to the saga, but also extremely sad about it. The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom is the most recent game that I have played, and wow, the sequel to The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild is finally out! It felt like this game was in development forever, and now that it's out, it shows why it was in development forever. It's a miracle that Nintendo was even able to follow up Breath of the Wild with a sequel that's this good. I'm probably a quarter of it, and that's maybe a quarter. There's just so much into it, and I know I have put minimum 10 hours into this game. That's a very generous 10 hours because there are days that I played this game for a while, so I'm thinking it's a little bit more than that. I'm just amazed with everything that I've seen being accomplished with this game. The physics are phenomenal, the art style is beautiful, and there's little to no issues with the gameplay. The only issues that I have seen are very minor frame issues when there are fire particles or when using the abilities, and even then, it hasn't really impacted my enjoyment nor experience with the game so far. Now, like I said, I'm maybe not even a quarter into it, or maybe just over it, I don't know. But this game is huge. There may be times later where I get to areas that I don't know, or settings that I don't know that will impact it. But as of right now, it's fine. And as of my friends that have gotten further than me, it's been fine for them as well. And the best thing that I can say about this game is how it makes me feel. And that's magical. And that is extremely cheesy. It is the cheesiest way I can say it, but it's the best way I can describe this game. It gives a wondrous feeling with whatever I am doing. Exploring the sky, seeing a landmark I want to go to, exploring the ground, getting distracted by a rock, diving into the chasms of Hyrule and immediately running away because I am terrified. Solving puzzles in intended and not so intended ways. Abusing the Koroks. It's just so beautiful. There's no point in this game where I feel bored. I did not really like the side quests in Breath of the Wild, and that's something that I'm really liking in Tears of the Kingdom. The side quests here impact the world. And as of recording, I have only done the first main objective after landing in Hyrule, and I chose to do it in Rito Village. This game is amazing. I cannot believe Nintendo succeeded in making a sequel to one of the highest praised games of all time. And they made that sequel just as highly acclaimed. The wait for Tears of the Kingdom was so long, but it was worth it. And I can't wait to keep playing it. I can't stop thinking about it. I just talked about Xenoblade 3, and although Xenoblade 3 is one of my favorite games of all time, Tears of the Kingdom is invoking those feelings that I did not think I would get for a while. And I'm getting it the year after I just played one of my favorite games of all time. And it's such a good feeling. And I know a lot of people are wondering, is Tears of the Kingdom going to fix the problems that I had with Breath of the Wild? Not me specifically. I had my problems with Breath of the Wild, but I know some other people had more problems with it. And yes and no. The structure is very much similar to Breath of the Wild. You have your shrines. The starting area is very much mimicking the Great Plateau, but a lot of it has been adjusted. The way that you solve the puzzles you can do them in so much more open ways. There's not just one way to do it, and I know Breath of the Wild already had that where you can do it in a few different ways, but the possibilities have opened up significantly. Even if you're not creative, you can brute force your way through some of these puzzles. And it's just really interesting to see. Now, the shrines in this game are much better than the shrines in Breath of the Wild. So if you did not like the shrines in Breath of the Wild, these are similar, but they're better designed. So I do have a feeling you might enjoy these more. And I know a lot of people did have problems with the Divine Beasts, including me. The Divine Beasts were one of the things that disappointed me because I like the traditional dungeons. And I have only done one dungeon or the equivalent to the Divine Beast in this game, which was in Rito. And I'm not going to spoil it. I'm not going to spoil the setting of it, but it was themed. It was not a Divine Beast. I have not gone to any of the other ones, so I can't promise any of the other ones, but it was much better than a Divine Beast. It felt better. The lead up to the temple, it was called a temple that I did. The dungeon that I did was called a temple, and it felt good to do. It wasn't exactly like the traditional temples that a lot of people have been wanting, but it was very close and it was themed. And I think it has been adjusted enough to where if you did not like Breath of the Wild, I think you might like Tears of the Kingdom more. It's more involved with the story. There are so many things to do. You get sidetracked super easily, and there are so many different branches. You're obviously going to get to the same endpoint, but I have still progressed stuff with the story without doing the main 4 points. Like, I haven't done the second main objective, but the equivalent to memories in the last game, which I'm not going to spoil, but the equivalent to memories in Breath of the Wild are back, and I've progressed a lot in that mechanic in this game. And I could make a full video on this, and I've already been talking for a while non-stop, so I hope this all makes sense and is not too scattered. But yeah, Tears of the Kingdom is fantastic. Play it as soon as you can. If you did not like Breath of the Wild at all, you might not like Tears of the Kingdom much more. If you were little disappointed with Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom might have fixed a lot of it for you. There's just so many layers in this Hyrule, and I absolutely adore it. And that wraps up each game that I played from March all the way to May. I was extremely busy these few months, so I'm sorry that I couldn't make videos, but even with how busy I was, I still got to play a good amount. Even got 2 Game of the Year contenders. And I just finished student teaching recently, so I'll hopefully be able to get back to work on stuff that I've been planning for the channel. I'll also keep playing games, so the journals will keep on coming. This was a longer game journal encompassing the last 3 months, so thank you for watching it, and I will see you in the next one.